So, guys. Um, this is my second movie entry, actually. Yeah, it's surprising. Well, not surprising. I'm actually really second movie entry and first. Well, with the purpose of the Oscars, we're currently doing a marathon until March 17th, is it not? Yeah, I'll try to get as many episodes and movie reviews I can get before that. And well, already in a video I explained what movies we're going to be seeing. I haven't recorded it because I could see today weapons, so I rather record the review first of the movie, and then after explain like opening of the whole opening of the this Oscar season that I'm planning, okay, and telling you which movies we're going to be watching and why some we're not going to be watching. It's going to be very interesting. If you want to have a little bit of a background in that, well, I invite you to check that video. It's going to be the first of the playlist of the series. So yeah. So moving on, today we're going to be speaking about weapons. Weapons. Actually, well, I have to preface this because I have a very curious relationship with horror movies and spooky movies and scary movies. I particularly don't like them. I don't like the jump scares. I hate them. I already am anxious. I am already an anxious person, and feeling that and knowing that I'm going to feel that and knowing for a fact a scene is made for you to feel the the jump scare, that the jump scare is going to be coming. It's like, oh, but well, it's I don't like the sensation, and I find particularly, you could say, supernatural spiritual horror the most terrifying, at least for me. But I this movie, alongside others that came last year, I have been wanting to see them, but I think I've been wanting to see Weapons the most for the longest time. And I think I was able actually to be seeing it before. No, I was able to see it today because I had already watched so many fucking reactions of the movie. Shout out to Real Rejects, or Real Rejects. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think Rejects. Rejects. Yes, because rejects is the verb. That's my English teacher vein inside myself. And I was able to watch Weapons because I had already kind of seen the movie through the reactions, but I hadn't seen the movie because watching it full was a really, really cool experience. It was a really, really cool experience. I liked it because, man, the movie's so good. It's so good and speaks of a lot of topics that I think nobody in the reviews I've, I've heard, I've watched, the reactions and reviews I've seen, they haven't tapped on a lot of things that I'm going to be discussing about, and I think that the movie speaks of. Well, obviously, this is a spoiler review. This is a spoiler review. If you don't want to be spoiled,
Hey, spoiler alert.
then don't watch this video and don't watch this series, because I'm fucking watching the movies before recording an episode, so it's going to be a fucking spoiler session. So, anyways, let's get started. So, we already know the plot. 17 kids go missing on a night and they all disappear at 2:17 a.m. And well, the movie obviously is titled Weapons, and it's in base of different POVs of the people related and responsible or pseudo responsible of the case, victims and not victims, people that were supposed to be managing that. And well, James, that I think was collateral. Poor guy. I I liked his POV a lot because it was a little bit upbeat, like the editing, the storytelling of his POV was upbeat. So I don't know how to start today. I made some notes and I think I'm going to be building up from that. But before getting on into the notes, one of the things that caught my attention the most before watching the movie and all the things I knew about the movie is that it was inspired after a dear friend of the director and the creator of the movie passed away. And the person passed away due to an addiction. I think that's the the main reason of the person's demise. And so yeah, he prefaced a lot that the movie mainly spoke of trauma and addictions and things that are weaponized. So, well, let's get started. I'm going to go, I think, with each POV. And we're going to be starting with Justine, okay? I want to say also that currently I am working as an English teacher here in my home country, and I understand a lot. Even though I am not teaching kids, God forbid, like I already tried it and it's very hard. It's very, very hard. But I understand the side of humanity, that you have to be able to. And it's, I don't know how to explain it because it's not that I'm being cocky. I'm not being cocky about it. But there's a vulnerability. Of course, in kids you see it more. In kids you see it more because they're new to the experience of living and learning, and they are already discovering a world that is very vast and horrible, and it can be beautiful. But in my own experience, like I teach teenagers and adults, and now with adults you don't see many adults trying to learn something because I think they are not able to be in this position of vulnerability. And especially in the case of somebody like Justine, I feel very related to her in the sense that we're both young women and we have this position of power because being a teacher is a position of power over a classroom, whether the classroom is full of kids or full of adults. You're the responsible one. And to be in the shoes of that woman that just one day a whole bunch of kiddos disappear and there's no seeming explanation, and to add to that, the only kid that was appeared to be the only one bullied is the one that is not disappearing, the one that is still going to the classroom. It's really, it's very shocking. And it's well, I would have a lot of um prudency, I think you say it, in in saying traumatizing because well, of course, like My experience is not your experience, it's not anybody else's experience. I live in a highly violent country, and we're not tackling politics today, but it's being hard, okay? I've seen stuff, and I don't know if you become a little bit desensitized, but I do understand the unsettling that comes with knowing that you were supposed to be responsible for these kids, and one day they didn't show up, you know? Especially that they're kids. Fucking kids that disappeared. It's horrible. And you know, this first scene of her that is everybody in the auditorium, especially Archer. I loved Archer, but of course they were picking at her. They were picking at her because she was the one responsible for the kids, and the only connection that these kids had was through her in the school. So of course parents are going to hold her into this how do you call it, this grand, you could say, mold that she's supposed to fill. Well, citing, I think, the character of Laura Dern in A Marriage Story, that every woman is held to the standard of Virgin Mary. I think it's true, and especially in places that you are a caregiver. A teacher is somebody that is responsible and nurturing and caring. You know, you don't hold into the same standards a female teacher that, and you don't hold into the same standards a male teacher. You know, they both, like, both, even though they have the same job, have different expectations to each other, and her expectation was to take care of these children if as if they were her own, but that's not expected of male teachers. And also, um, people take a lot of liberties with female teachers because, for example, in my own experience here, you don't see mothers treating male teachers how they treat you. You don't see that. They expect you to be understanding of their helicoptering. They expect you to be, I don't know, answering their questions all the time, and it's horrible. It's very horrible. Well, due to my own history, I don't like helicopter parents. I think they're disgusting. Even if they have kids, it's, you know, I think it's because of my own trauma. I don't like helicopter parents, but having any kind of interaction with parents, I understand it more because, for example, when I taught kids, it was it was to be expected. Like, if there wasn't a parent, I actually would be concerned about it. But I've had, and this is like a parenthesis, obviously, but I've had parents, teen parents, come here, and it's like, dude, let your own son, your own daughter explain their situation. I don't need you to come here to my classroom to say, my kid is feeling bad. Look at him. He's feeling bad. He cannot come to class today. And like, one, you're already fucking here. Two, why don't you let him say anything? He's 16 years old. Like, oh my god. But well, I see the unfairness against Justine because they are holding her responsible as if she was an assassin. And I understand, like, speaking now, that it's very unsettling for her because she's in a degree used to hold this position of power, even though that you would say is a really innocent position of power, is nonetheless a position of power. You know, this is still a position of power, teaching kids and being responsible for kids. And the scene that you see in one point of the movie when Archer's kid is bullying uh what's the name of the guy, of Alex, when he's bullying Alex, and she has to exert authority. She's a person that is used to exerting authority That, of course, is not the authority, for example, of somebody like the president of the United States or the president of Russia or whatever, but it's still a kind of authority. And that she, for some reason, cannot exert that authority to people that she's supposed to be taking care of, and they all disappeared, and then you have a whole bunch of parents chasing you and telling you things and wanting to for you to have all the answers. It's like, man, I don't know. And I understand the unsettling that she feels, and that it's an unfairness, and she's just a girly. I understand, girl, you're just a girly. Like, I understand it so much, because, like, dude, I just want to get paid and that's it. But well, I in her storyline with one of the dialogues she has with Marcus, that's one of the things that I how can you say that it's he tells her at some point, you're not a parent, you are a teacher. That you're not supposed to care for the students beyond what happens inside the classroom. But I would say, yes, I'm a teacher. Yes, I'm not a parent. But
Beautiful flower.
bitch, I'm fucking human. How are you supposed, and how are you like, let's leave this to the authorities. No, whatever. It's I don't know. It's baffling, because I see it. There's people that actually don't care in these academic structures about their students. And I'm Gen Z. Like, once the bell rings, I'm out. But I still care for them, I still care about them and still care about their lives, about their dreams, about their pains, about their sorrows, anything they tell me. It's very hard, and it's very dehumanizing when you have a figure of authority inside an institution telling you that. It's like, we're not dealing with machines, we're dealing with people, and people that we're responsible with their upbringing. And I think people don't get it so much. They don't get it so much, because you have kids that are very sensitive, and one bad thing that happens to them, it's going to shape their entire lifetimes, their entire lifetime, and their teen adulthood. And there's people that they don't take that seriously enough, in, like, especially in schools, because they say, hi, they are raised in their parents' house. Bitch, right now we are raising these kids, and you have to be, like, at some point a little bit more, I don't know. Well, my word is human. You have to be human. You cannot think like that. It's like, oh, you have to be super cold and whatever. And there are teachers that are like that. But that's the standard. You would say, the male teacher has to be cold, he has to be the authority. But you demand kindness and empathy and humanity out of female teachers. And when we give it, you say, you're a teacher, you're not a parent. And it's like, well, what the fuck do you want from me? But I'm ranting a lot. So I understand that she was losing control, and the only sense of control she could have was her, well, you could say her input of alcohol inside her body, her digestion of alcohol, whatever she put inside, the amount of alcohol that she would put inside herself. That she could control. She could control buying a bottle, she could control going to the store, she could control speaking to Han Solo. And she knew how to, like, to press his buttons, and he was in the condition to have his buttons pressed. But we're going to get that more on the line. Here my note says, alcohol as a weapon, in parentheses, to Justine, to her environment, looping her head. So, of course, I think in the more practical sense, she's using alcohol as a weapon against the cop, against Han Solo, and against herself. And at some point, it comes back to her because she uses the alcohol as a weapon to be able to control and to get Han Solo to do whatever she wanted, and that ended up in Sexy Night. But we see afterwards that Han Solo's girlfriend spills a bottle of vodka, I think so, or a similar liquid that the one she bought over her. So it's like a payback. I do understand what this dude says of her being a little bit woe is me, and that she's like in main character syndrome, like everything's about being so sad. But I do understand, it's maybe she regards herself so much, and she has to. She's a teacher, and her whole class disappeared, and she cannot work, and she cannot probably pay her bills, and she knows there's this kid that is very sensitive, and there's something must be wrong, and she has that feeling, and of course she feels responsible and feels like she's the main character. I do believe that it was deplorable what she did to Han Solo, but well, in his POV it was really comical because it shows that she just wanted to be night. It's like, okay, girl. Okay, a girl has needs. Anyway, another note of Marcus. It's like what I'm telling you. He said to her, you're overreacting. You're supposed to be a teacher, etc. But then, as I'm telling you, you're regarded in another standard. You're supposed to be Virgin Mary and like an institutional Virgin Mary. So yeah, it's not like it's a hard thing to juggle. Anyways, let's go to the second chapter or the second POV of this movie, Archer. First of all, I loved Archer, and I loved that it was played by Josh Brolin because originally it was going to be Pedro Pascal, and it's like, no, please no. No, I think the depth and the personality that Josh Brolin transmits was the one that was necessary for this character. I related to him a lot because he was straight to the facts, and the fact was, even though I'm telling you that I sympathize with Justine, that she was the only link with the only thing that kept those bunch of kids together was her in her classroom, and they disappeared and only one came, so something must have been around that. And he has that practicality inside his brain, his logic that I can't really tap into. That's my ascendant in Aquarius, and my Justine sign is moon in Pisces. But yeah, I related to him a lot. I think I would be worst as a parent. Like if my kid disappeared and had a month disappeared. I don't know, man. It's so I don't I I don't know what I would do. I will leave it at that. But I would know that me, my condition as a Latina, I wouldn't be as calm. I'm gonna tell you. Either ways, I loved here. Let's go a little bit into the narrative and the writing of the story and the creative process. I think it was very, very real. The use of dreams, in this case, Archer's dream, as an prompter for action, because of course the dream ends up in this fucking jump scare of Gladys. But either ways, it's like a dream sequence of him portraying Archer, and Archer's trajectory outside of his house. And I like that because more often times than not, we have clues, maybe not the answers, obviously, because we don't know and we could get a little bit esoterical there. But for the purposes of this movie, I'm just going to say that sometimes we have clues in our unconscious, and I think it was really cool to put that aspect on the big screen and to put it as they put it, because if he hadn't had that dream, he wouldn't have come up with the map thing that later followed. And well, I want to see Barbarian. After like learning about the existence of this movie, I've been really curious about the filmography of the director Zach Cregger, and I've been preparing my psyche for Barbarian. But I think Barbarian is not so isn't as spooky as this one, okay? Because I think what makes these movies more tolerable for me is that it's a horror that is human made. It's not spiritual, demons, whatever. It's human, and humans can be controlled and can be prevented. There's something that gives you a little bit more power, and at the contrary of, as opposed to I don't know, a conjuring situation. It's horrible, you know. It's like it's not factual. Well, it's factual. There are factual things that you can measure, but it's not it's not you could say it's not logical. It's spiritually transcendental, and that's what's scary, because you don't control God, and it's you can control your actions, but you cannot control if a demon gets inside of you. You know, it's horrible, horrible. But well, another thing I related to with Archer was to and and I think that's one of the things that I find so fascinating of this movie, because it relates a lot to very humane experiences, and in this case, the grief of losing somebody so abruptly that you don't expect it. You can argue, "Hi, but you never expect to lose somebody." Obviously not, but abrupt in the case of everything was normal, everything was fine. I thought it was fine. I believed it was fine. I was made to believe it was fine, and then it was not. I say it in that sense, and that guilt of of knowing you could have done better and actually fucking realizing that you didn't, and that you have that in front of you every day of your fucking life, because that person is gone, and it's a constant reminder, like its absence, it's a constant reminder of what you didn't do. It's jarring, and I'm telling you because I recently, less than 5 months ago, my my uh, my grandfather died, you know, and he was very dear to me. And yeah, it's one of the demons, I think, come up when somebody that you love dies so abruptly, and that you didn't expect it, and you thought that you would have more years with that person, and that person would live until 100 years old, and he didn't, and he just managed to get at 80, and 80 is a lot. 80 is a lot, but well, anyways, I'm getting too personal. But I'm just telling you that it's really good how they portrayed those aspects, you know, those very, very delicate aspects. And kudos for the team. Kudos for the team. I loved the what the I loved it. It was so good. I I relate a lot to it. I don't know, man. I found Archer very resourceful. I think my logical side, the side of Isa that makes Sudoku at intermediate level, was able to connect with Archer a lot. You know, kudos for Josh Brolin. He was really good in that role. Slay. Let's go with Cub Guy. I don't know his name, I don't remember. Han Solo slash Cub Guy. This is Paul. I think it's Paul. Yes, because Marcus is the director. Either way, Cub Guy, he had already a lot of issues, and he was very reactive already. And well, I understand. I think I can understand a little bit the struggles of alcohol. Not that I have struggles with alcohol or had struggles with alcohol, but I grew up in a very alcoholic environment. And I understand that that person was repressing a lot, but in a sense, you could see it. If you live with people that are a little bit more, you could say, they regard a little bit more the opinions of others, they're going to mask it, and it's going to be even harder to spot on. So, yeah, they're going to mask it for whatever reason. So, I think he had a lot of repressed anger. And even if his life was seemingly normal, because I think the only thing we know about this guy is that he's just an recovering alcoholic. But, maybe he's very new to it, and even now recalling, he was very accusive. He was really like accusing Justin of being this and that, and when people get like that, it's because they are what they're accusing you of. So maybe I should rewatch that. I should. Yeah, because he tells her that she's like a little bit of who is me, etc., and that she's a little bit thinking like she's poor little Justine, something like that. When actually she's not. She's not. She's a really hands-on woman. I think he's maybe projecting onto her. And because of this sense of no control that he already has to be facing all the time, comes the encounter he has with James, that controls his lips when he's poked by the needle, and he punches James like that. It's like, you made me lose my control, my cool, and because of you, I fell into the alcohol again. No,
Beautiful flower.
it's you. It's basically you. And he's just going to the AA meetings whenever he wants. And it's like, obviously, there's something that is even deeper there. And you don't go to AA meetings whenever you want. Well, you actually do, but it's not like, I'm going to leave it for later. You have to want it, and I think that person, the cup guy slash Han Solo, didn't want to get better. He just was getting better for the sake of getting better, quote unquote, getting better in the sense of not losing his job and not losing his girlfriend and not straining his relationship with his boss, that I think the boss was the father of his girlfriend. So yeah, I noted that Justine had used alcohol against him, but I think he used alcohol against himself. He kind of like did his own seppuku, you could say. We could argue that he was used by Justine, that she wanted to like think away and think of anything that wasn't the situation of the school. But he allowed himself to be used, and if he was serious of his recovery, he wouldn't have done that. But excuses grow like snowballs, like avalanches. You made me do this. That the needle. That the James. That my boss. That my wife. That Justine. Well, alcohol. But it's the fault of everybody, but not mine.
Beautiful flower.
You chose. That's the reality. You chose to drink. And you didn't have a hell of a massive resolve to not drink. to not drink. And you might say, it's not, you're not being very sensitive with people that suffer of addictions, etc. Bitch, I'm not, because I know what it is like. I'm not an alcoholic, but I know the similar thought pattern, thinking pattern, and it's the one of a victim pattern. And you know who else thinks that they're victims? All these fat people that are like, yeah, I don't know, what is the movement called? Um, which, like, in an original basis is a good movement, but they're saying like fat acceptance and body positivity, that thing. it's, it's more excuses for you not to be able to say,
Beautiful flower.
I fucked up. For you to get better, you have to accept that at some point and in some areas of your life you're fucked up, you have fucked, and you will still probably fuck from time to time. But if you're in the victim mentality, if you think of yourself as a victim, you're never going to get out of that. And everybody that tells you,
Beautiful flower.
you're fucking responsible of your life, of your body, of your choices, of the things you put inside of yourself, everything's going to be an attack. And if everything's going to set you up. So, I don't know. I didn't sympathize a lot with him, but I think you can tell I don't sympathize with alcohol, like people. Either ways, own experiences, darlings. That's my own experience. I didn't have a good experience, and people that have lived with alcoholic people, no. So, again, well, it's the excuse of him saying, this needle guy made me have a bad day, and that's why I had to relapse. Well, if you relapsed because of a nimiety like that, man, it's not James's fault. It's your character that is not strong and actually is very weak. But well, that's it for Cup Guy. Let's go with James. I liked, as like I told you in the beginning of this episode, I liked the tone of his POV. I don't know. The actor, of course, is the one of Euphoria. I already know him because of due to Euphoria, and he's a really good one. And it's a really drastic change because in Euphoria he was like the chill guy, etc. He was the boyfriend of the character of Barbie Ferreira, and here he was just a crackhead. It was really fun. It was really fun. And he did it super great. And I don't know, at some point, I'm not saying this as an insult, and neither as a compliment, but his bone structure reminded me at times of Timothée Chalamet. I don't know why. But young Timothée Chalamet, because his face has changed a lot. I'm not puteándolo or anything. I'm not like diminishing or anything, or like being complaining of his body. Of course not. Just saying, you age, you change. It happens. Okay. Something that I found interesting was that him and Justine were the ones to actually speak up and say something regarding the the thing of the disappearance of the kids. Of course, James did it just to say, I'm going to take the 50K reward, right? For his own benefit. And you can argue also that Justine wanted to make it her for her own benefit, as Marcus accuses her a lot inside the narrative, right? Of course, but inside the movie that he says, of course you just want whatever is best for you, not what's best for Alex. But I think it's not so black and white with Justine as it is for James' situation, because Again, I understand the position Justine is in. Of course, like driving somebody that is your student to their house, especially a kid, is a it's a very delicate terrain. It's a very delicate terrain, and yeah, maybe a little bit too much. Maybe you could have done it a little bit better. Like, well, let's wait here at school. Oh my god, my computer is losing battery. Maybe you could have like waited at school or something with the student or something like that, invited him to a sandwich inside the school, or have, I don't know, like Uber Eats or a delivery brought for you to accompany that student until he was picked up. But I think again it's something that, of course, he James saw it, and he saw the kids and he had the proof actually. But Justine relied mostly on her instinct, I think. And I'm telling you again, for some things you have to use your instinct, but you don't have to use it a lot, because that's going to get me in trouble. So it's like the Virgin Mary standard again. But either way, it's not going to get a little like feminist talk, which is another subject. But I do understand that side. I do understand that side. I loved his dialogue. I learned a lot of words with him. I just loved like when he's explaining in through the phone, like the kids are standing there and it's really weird and they're just like standing and doing nothing, and there's also two wackos in there. It's like it's really funny. I had a blast with him. Had a blast with him. Give me a second because I have to charge my computer. Oh my god. What time is it? It's already 11 p.m. Well, that is either ways. I just found the time today to do this recording, and hopefully I'm going to be sorry. It's a lot of noises that are not very, how do you call that, ASMR ish. So either ways, bear with me. Ready? Little bit of tecito. Okay. Oh, taking a deep breath. I speak and I speak and I speak and I forget to breathe, darlings. I forget to breathe, and then it's like, why am I so anxious, etc. Why do I have a migraine, etc. Because I didn't breathe. But well, it happens a lot when you get focused. I was scared because I thought, hey, maybe I'm just like wrong, and but Gemini AI has helped me a lot. It's like, no, it's just that you get too hyper focused. Either ways, I it's don't take this as an example. I should be speaking about that with my therapist, but well. Okay, let's go with Alex. But before Alex, I think before Alex came Marcus. And after Alex, okay, we're going to speak about Marcus. Then we're going to be speaking about Alex. And then we're going to speak about Gladys. And then general thoughts of the movie, okay? Um, Thoughts on Marcus's POV. Well, as I've been telling you, I think he has a fucking motorcycle. I think I see that carelessness regarding students. And I'm not saying he was bad at his job, but I think that at some point the structure doesn't work and you have to work out of the structure. Yeah, if he had listened to Justine and actually followed her, well, either ways, what the fuck were they going to do? They were battling a witch. Either ways. But yeah, I think I liked that he was very firm with Gladys, and and Well, actually, he got her scared. Scared enough to go the next day to his house. And I think his boyfriend slash husband was, I don't know, man. You could argue, yeah, he wanted to help her. It's an old lady. But you have two eyes, and you have two ears, and you have a whole body and a brain to sense that that woman was off. And also, like, he wasn't paying attention to Marcus's body language. He wasn't paying attention to that. And of course, like, and it's what I'm telling you. You can be supportive and empathetic, but I would never accept a student in my house in that level, or like a student in my house. Arguable, depends on the occasion, and there are very heavy occasions. Like they need help. But a parent, it's what I'm telling you. Like parent, no, ew. I don't know. Maybe it's my own experience that I have a really bad experience with parents, but any kind of parent to say it. But yeah, I think his boyfriend, his husband, didn't pick up on that, and they paid a lot. It's I. That's one of the things that caught my attention the most. Like Marcus destroyed the face of his husband. Like a punta de cabezazo, chamo. Horrible. Horrible. It was like, and actually at that point, I was really curious. It's like, does he know what he's doing? Is he maybe in some sort of like a trance, like in Get Out, where Daniel Kaluuya could see and could be there without doing anything? I was really curious to know that, because they don't have like a whole control of their body. And I'm telling you this because it's going to be useful for the next section with Alex. And yeah, well, with Marcus, all I have to say is that, yeah, I don't know. There wasn't a lot of communication, couple communication there that could have saved his life, but well, and the scene with Gladys is it's a masterpiece. The actress. What's the name of the actress? Give me a second. I'm going to be searching. Well, I'm not going to be searching. I'm searching. Weapons. Cast. Amy Madigan. Damn, that woman knows how to act. It's like, wow. The contrast. And this is a little parenthesis, but actually, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. She knows how to act. Period. Closing parenthesis. Let's go with Alex. Well, the first thing that I have noted here is the last thing his father tells him. And I think that's very horrible. It's very heartbreaking. Hey, X-Man, how was school? That's the last thing, and it shows that it was like that it was he wasn't made to be told that, because then his mother asks him something that day when he comes back to school. But it's that Gladys forced her to say that. But I think, at least how I got it, is that his father said it out of his heart, and his heart could bypass then the strength of Gladys's enchantment, whatever. Maybe because she was weak, and the life force of Alex's parents wasn't enough, and maybe he could bypass it a little bit and ask him that way that. And yeah, I found it very heartbreaking and sad. It's like the last semblance of normality, the last semblance of the last memory you have of your parents, that it's going to be normal and that the next thing that comes is not normal. And hearing Alex's point, it's very heavy, because one of the things that Zach Cregger said is that, well, the movie is a lot also about that sense of powerlessness. Maybe you can relate it to a powerlessness regarding to the addiction that somebody else has. Here, of course, in the case of Alex's parents, it wasn't an addiction. It was the control and, well, the evilness and the wickedness of Gladys. But in real life, there's a greater force that you can't control. And when you're a kid and you're seeing all these situations that you can't control and are hurtful, and you want to trust your parents to protect you, to comfort you, and they cannot, and you're facing your own, and you have to face it in your own, and even you have to face them on your own, like Alex's case in the end. It's very unfair, and I could relate to that a lot, and I think they capture it very, very well. It was really terrible. It was really terrible. And yeah, it's a dichotomy, because thinking now, like, let's imagine an Alex in 10 years, 20 years. Like, he is going to have the memories of his father, good memories, the little ones he might recall, but he will always have this feeling of that feeling. It's like, I don't know how to say it. It's not heartbrokenness, maybe a little bit of void, you could say. Yeah, void, because they were supposed to protect you, even though they couldn't imagine, that Gladys would end up like that. But it was his parents' responsibility to protect Alex, and they didn't. They failed, and for the sake of family, they allowed this woman that was basically a stranger to their house, and it ended up how it ended up. And actually, before watching the movie and seeing all the reactions I saw, I think it. No, I don't think it was the thing that scared me the most. Of course, like, you had the jump scares of Amy Madigan, but the capture, how they capture their parents, the Alex's parents, like, so motionless and just there. But it's like, darlings, is when your parent is there, physically there, just to say they're there, but they're not. It's a horrible feeling. It's a very horrible feeling, and they capture it really well. I could empathize with Alex a lot. It's in that sense, because, like I'm telling you, you're not just battling the unknown as a kid, you're battling your parents as well, and how they fell into this unknownness, and how you're so powerless against it, because they are the adults, and you have to, and they make you stick to them. It's very horrible. And of course, there are cases of kids that have to be parentified, even more so, because you can be emotionally parentified, but in the sense of taking care of your parent, of feeding them, cleaning them. Like, there are episodes like this in my 600-pound life. Oh, the woman of the maggots, that her kids had to clean her naked body. I don't know. For me, that's unfathomable. I'm sorry, but I think I would get somebody, a nurse or a caretaker, to do that. I wouldn't touch my parents' naked body. No, but it's not supposed to. You're not supposed to do that. It's not, like, even as an adult, and more so as a kid. You're not supposed to be taking care of your parents in any form. They're supposed to be taking care of you. And of course, again, this is in the form of the witch, but this can come in the form of an addiction, of an partner, an abusive partner. And I'm not saying addiction as in, I don't know, alcohol, sex. It's an addiction to the thought process, again, into being a victim. But of course, it's not the case of the parents. I'm just telling you, I think they emulate that. They're speaking of that. Yeah. And also, I could relate a lot to, like, people used to bully him and he was really quiet and reserved. But, like, how people and the education system, the schools, the teachers, the directors, the child counselors, God forbid, they they just say, she's quiet. I know she's okay. I know she has to speak more, or they have to speak more, or he has to speak more. He has to loosen up, etc. Thinking it's a problem of the kid, and they don't sit down to think what is making this guy act like this. Because you can be introverted, that's it. But in his case, he was very reserved. He was very quiet. He had the eyes of somebody that was very scared all the time. And he couldn't say anything, but nobody asked him either. Nobody did. The one person that actually wanted to ask was Justine, and she was stopped. So, well, maybe this is a reflection of the system as well, like the education system and the social system. It's like, oh no, you have to be, ugh. But you have to step up at some point. Lives are at risk. Alex's life was at risk, and was at risk by the hands of his own parents at the end. It was very horrible, very horrible. But going back to the point I wanted to make in this section is that he was living in a fear, in an isolation of having a secret so big and that he couldn't say, for the sake, in this case, of his parents not being killed. But this mistake was basically his parents, killed them at some point, I think so, and also him, you could say, inside. And I'm saying killing, maybe I'll have to censor it. Yes, I'll have to censor it, obviously. Yeah, but well, either ways. Um, it speaks to real life in the sense of well, obviously, going back to the addiction allegory that we find in the whole movie. Kids grow up in these environments, and sometimes, well, you don't have maybe the blessing of a blunt parent and saying, yes, I'm an addicted, and yes, it's not people's problems. Sometimes they fake normalcy, they fake care, they fake love, and once the door shuts, it's an entire different story. Just like we can see with Gladys, her whole persona with strangers, when they were questioned, when she was with Marcus, and how she showed herself with Alex, how she treated him with such coldness and condescension and manipulation, like he was a little kid. But yeah, it's dehumanizing. It's a portrayal that dehumanized, that her whole persona was dehumanizing Alex. He was just a tool. He was just a tool. He was a weapon. yeah, weapons. But yeah, it's very sad. It's very sad because, you see it all in like like a portrayal of fiction, and actually, I think it speaks to me so much because it speaks to a reality, But well, this movie, one, I wanted to see it because the plot is amazing and I wanted to see it properly, and I am not disappointed. I think it's a really good movie, and I'm really saddened that it only got one nomination for the Oscars, but it was hell of a good of a nomination. Actually, thankfully, we were able to see it because I wanted to see it either ways, but I wanted to have a purpose. And well, the purpose was like speaking of something that I wanted to speak of, but another purpose was also joining into this Oscar marathon and well, going to the technicalities of the movie and to the nomination that was granted to this movie, which is the supporting actress to Amy Madigan. Totally deserved, and I hope she wins. I totally hope she wins. Of course, this is the first movie I see of the Oscars and of that category, but she did an outstanding job in doing that. That, like, for example, in the scene with the ball in Marcus's house, like he was killing the person and she was like, oh yeah, whatever. And I think what sticks to my mind the most is when he like runs away to find Justine, and she's just like, "Ah, well, I finished already here, let's go, let's move on." That energy of being, whatever, let's keep going. Oh, it's like, no, whatever, it's like finally a relief. It's that like a girly relief of like, I already solved this problem, let's keep going. It's like how she portrayed it. It was very decadent, very decadent. Like it was very delicate and decadent. Yeah, it's a masterclass in acting. I think so, and emulating those emotions. And I think the one time she scared me the most when she was when Archer found her in the basement with the kids, and she found like she's kind of like crouching, and then she's like, ah, and it's like, oh, I think that's the mental image that it scares me the most. And well, it's, I don't know what time I'm going to fall asleep, darlings, but I think it's going to stick to me. Anyways, darlings, yeah, I think it's very deserved, and it was a really good story. I think it was very layered, as we could as you could hear today. And I have an hour speaking, an hour and 5 minutes speaking. Well, of course, it's going to be shortened in the editing, but whatever. And other technicalities, I think the cinematography was really, really good. Sound editing was very good, and also the soundtrack was very, very good as well. I think I would have given a sound editing thing because not of course like nomination because yeah, it's like a horror movie, whatever. But it has really good moments. You hear everything. We actually hear everything. Yeah. And well, the direction was masterclass, and I guess, of course, Amy Madigan, like, is the one nominated, and I think those outstanding quality of the movie, but everybody also was a masterclass. Julia Garner was masterclass. Josh Brolin always. Um, Han Solo was masterclass, and also Marcus. Everybody was masterclass, and Alex, the little kid, he was top, and also like his parents. But I would say the mother because the mother was the most scary. I think she was the most scary. But anyways, darlings, those are my thoughts about weapons. Tell me, what did you think of it? And if you thought of anything that I've been telling you for the past hour, or if you saw it differently, please, I would like to know your thoughts and views, and just theorize about everything. Anyways, this is the first movie that I do with the intention of the Oscar marathon. I already have Avatar, and Avatar didn't get nominated that much, but I think only for costume. But either ways, we have it there. It's part of the marathon, unknown marathon, but whatever. Anyways, I'll see you next time. Please, if you liked this, if you liked hearing me, like, subscribe, support, and share, comment, follow, etc. Okay, so, well, I guess I'll log in for the next episode in a very, very short time. Well, not very, very short time. Hopefully, a very, very short time. But I'll keep you posted. You will know. Take care. Take care. Bye bye.